blow him the fuck up. Record real quick. That damage level. What is up, you guys? Koki here again, and this time with a very quick update on my League starter Rage Vortex Berserker. It's performing incredibly well, just as I predicted, with the fact that the mastery gives you the minimum power, and the shield, which is the only unique required, the red blade banner, has basically plummeted in price by day 2 and day 3. Day 1 being around 20 to 15 C. It had a high at 30 C because I'm pretty sure it had a good amount of demand due to general warcry builds, the general cry build. And after that, day 2 was already 12 C, and then by day 3 it was already going down to 9, 8, and now it's like sitting at 4 or 5 chaos. So that's, you literally need 4 or 5 C, which you can just find lying on the floor to make the build function very, very well. And as early as level 35, which is fantastic. That's good to hear. And the reason I'm making this video is because the build's doing very well. I've been definitely all the way to tier 5s. I level 83. And the only thing is that despite the build doing incredibly well, and a lot of people have been enjoying and doing just as well, even though they're ignoring important things like accuracy in life, the leveling process had a lot of nuances that I do want to, give you tips and tricks on how to get over those nuances and probably enjoy the leveling process more. If you're already in maps, it's not really centered towards you because you kind of know what you're doing already, or you kind of brute forced it. But if you haven't gotten to maps, then I'm making this video for you so you have a better leveling experience and have an idea of what I did to get to maps as quick as I did, and deathless with like easy breezy cover girl type shit. All right, whatever the case may be. So we'll go over that, and then I also have a passive tree update. So we'll do that right before the leveling thing. And very quickly, saving. I just showed how I saved the point and I changed the fortified cluster, and I'll show that update in the PoE link down below, and in the previous video should be updated as well. But without further ado, I do stream on Twitch every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, guaranteed. I'm trying to stream a bit more to catch up to you, everybody else. Even though I'm already in maps, I'm still behind compared to the average content creator. So I'm doing my best to catch up, and so you should expect a lot from me. But I do have a lot of build guides that are not that are from before, that have not been posted, that I need to update, and I'll give it to you once I'm ready. So expect that very, very soon. Other than that, if you have any questions, of course, join my Discord community. The link is down below, or ask away in the YouTube comments. And yeah, let's move on. Okay, now let's talk about the very quick passive skill tree. Changes nothing, too crazy. Before I picked up Rampart just to get the, what is that? The mastery that gives you melee hits fortify, just so you can drop fortify from a 6 link. Well, it turns out this one's like right here is just way better, because this 40% increased damage, it only gives you damage if you have at least 20 fortification. But because the mastery gives you -3 maximum, we would be stuck at 17 fortification anyway. So that becomes kind of useless. Well, this one over here gives you +4 maximum, even though it gives you -3. So we'll be sitting at 21 maximum fortification for that's basically 4% less damage taken from hits. And it's right there. And it's the same passive amount of passive skill points. Is really good. You can also pick up this one if you want to get like a level 23 stacks of fortification. But I think 21 is more than fine. And that's up to you if you want to spend the extra point. Other than that, the tree used to do this, right? This used to be how the tree looked. And I did this because of this cluster jewel that was here, but instead it was cheaper to do this, right? Take out 3 points, saving us 1 point, then just use this cluster jewel. So the tree became level 92 instead of level 93. And you can do what you want with that, getting an extra life node, whatever the case may be. And we're kind of testing right now to see if getting Champion of the Cause, this thing, and getting an aura reservation mastery is viable, and then fitting in determination. But my phys mitigation is already at 66% anyways. But of course, it depends on the armor you're using. Like this armor piece currently in the PoB is like 935 armor. The helmet's like 500 armor. So you want to make sure that you have armor everywhere in order to make that mitigation as high as possible throughout the process. But other than that, right now I am level 83. Right, sitting decently pretty. I was using a Scava, and the sword that I'm using right now is basically just as much damage as a Scava. But the only other thing is it hits, it doesn't hit as hard, it has less crit, but has way more attack speed, so it just feels nicer to play, you know. But a Scava is completely viable, and I was using it, and it literally costs you 1 freaking chaos. So just use that. A Scava and a Red Blade banner, that's 5C, 6C combo, and I take you all the way into like yellow, red tier maps, no problem at all. Other than that, I've just been using whatever I can find, and of course I've been copying and sniping whatever gear I can, you know, get that's really useful. Like a good tip is buying boots that have no movement speed, a good amount of life and resistances and armor, and just crafting movement speed on it because you don't need it, because Leaf Slam does everything for you. You know, get some gloves with a good amount of attack speed, accuracy, life, and resistances with an open prefix, so eventually you can craft, you know, a little bit of conversion. I found these gloves, even though they're not armor, they were like 5 chaos, and I couldn't, you know, not bite on that fucking hook because it's a really good, you know, decent leveling. Honestly, it's just a very good glove in general. It just has little poor resin accuracy, but you can't complain, right? And then same thing with Zammy. Zammy's insane. It has like what? Tier 1 life, a good amount of accuracy, fire damage, crit multi. And the only downside, it has no like int or dexterity. But super solid. I got it for like 2C. So, you know, try to cop whatever you can get. And then, you know, I'm abusing the Scourge system and the fusings in order to get easy 6 links, you know. And so I bought a 5 link, crafted it with maximum live, corrupted it using Scourge as long as it didn't hit something shitty. And then I just used a Tainted Orb fusing one of them, and I got an instant 6 link, which is very nice. So if you didn't know about that, you know, look it up. But Orb fusings give you a +1 or a -1 of the highest linked. So if you have a 5 link corrupted item, you basically have like a 50% chance of getting a 6 link. It's really, really good. And yeah, and I'm still trying to upgrade things like that. Like I saw my Lion's Roar and things like that. But eventually, you know, I want to do, you know, get more things and things like that. And the only thing I would say that is kind of tricky is that the best swords in the game have a very high dex count. So eventually, if I do get like a very good sword, a thrusting sword that has like 200 dex requirement, I might put a strength to dexterity conversion jewel here to convert a lot of the strength here into dexterity. That way, you know, we can fill up some of that gap here and not have to take so much dexterity on our gear. So, you know, we're playing around with that, trying to make it better for all of us. But in short, let me show you what I did to level up all the way before. Let's go to Act 1, show you what I picked up. And yeah. Now, while leveling in Act 1, the only thing you're really picking up is Ancestral Protector, which is a totem that gives you attack speed, which I'm still using, and you're going to be using throughout your entire process. You know, any gem that's on my PoB, you want to pick it up, right? Other than that, I use Smites over here. I use Ancestral Call over here. And I used Chance to Bleed. Now, the thing about Chance to Bleed is I had one of my Discord members not use Chance to Bleed, and it kind of bit him in the butt because, you know, he probably went for something like Onslaught just to make it easier. Nothing against him. I'm just trying to show you an example of what, you know, why this is very important. Chance to Bleed gives you flat physical damage, and this matters a lot when your fucking weapon is a little stick, you know. So while leveling, I actually managed to find a little stick like this, and I scourged it, and I got flat fire damage and a little bit of fizz damage, and this thing carried me literally like the first act so easily. So as you pick up weapons, even if they're white, please go ahead and put them in the Scourge as much as possible, because it will convert it into a rare weapon. And if you get something with, like, you know, flat fire or something like that, or flat lightning, flat damage, and it doesn't take that away from you, like deal no lightning damage, then they're very good to level up with. So I highly recommend it. On top of that, Smite isn't good without Ancestral Call, because that means that Smite, the thing about the reason why Smite's so good is because it's basically it's not a slam, looks like a slam, but with Ancestral Call and the AoE, you can basically hit from far away and smack like 3 packs all at once, and it does a very good amount of damage. So do not sleep on Smite. However, again, this is only until you get a Rage Vortex, so it doesn't matter what skill you use. I recommend Smite because it's nice and smooth, but if you don't like Smite, please go ahead and mess around with any other skill you want. You know, if you want to be a Molten Strike character, go play Molten Strike. If you like, you know, where is it? If you find to have a Frost Blades, play Frost Blades. You can even use what's the other skill? Ground Slam as a slam skill, or Perforate. I don't know if you have Perforate here. I guess they don't give us Perforate. You can mess around with all these things and just play with whatever you like. And the other thing I would recommend is, of course, pick a Blood and Sand because you have it. Is take a War Banner. One of the auras we're using, the only auras we have is Herald of Purity, Herald of Anger, Herald of Ash, excuse me, and Blood and Sand. Blood and Sand you do get here, right here, so you would pick it up. But you still have a lot of space until you get your Aspect of the Spider. Till then, you might have some accuracy problems, and I won't say you will have some accuracy problems. So pick up a War Banner, you know, pick up Precision, and use them, and they'll cover your accuracy early on. Precision, leave it at a low level if you have to, but between Precision and War Banner, that should fix the majority of your accuracy issues until you start getting accuracy either from the tree here, you know, or on gear. And another cool trick is when you first level through here, I did go for versatility just for the movement speed and dexterity and intelligence, and it went a long way in helping me, you know, level up a lot of the jewels or gems that I was using. So hey, dude, if you need that you know, here, you can pick it up here, here, or here. Please go ahead and pick it up. You can just regret out of it later. You know, don't be scared to make changes as you see fit. Otherwise, I picked up a steel skin, and it's been on my walk ever since because, you know, I'm not using Immortal Call yet because I don't have endurance charge until I get Mob Mentality Cluster Jewel. And when you put it on walk, let me show you very quickly. When you put it on walk, it gives you basically like 2,000. As you level it up, it gets higher.
I cannot do this.
A 2,000 very quick buff to like, or shield to take damage, and it gives you immunity to bleed. That's so good. So you just walk and it doesn't stop you. It has no animation, and it's super nice and smooth, you know. And you're gonna have some extra sockets until you can fit certain things in, and that, you know, that works. So I basically use that entire setup all the way into, you know, Act 2. Throughout this entire process, you want to keep upgrading and scourging your weapons to get rare weapons, and use the other recipe, which is a blacksmith whetstone, a magic or rare rustic sash, and a weapon of your choosing.
Speak.
So to give an example, hopefully she's selling a rustic sash right here. Perfecto.
Be kind.
I don't have a lot of alks because this fucking league sucks with currency drops. Don't ask me why. Right, take one whetstone, and let's say you want a weapon with a decent amount of attack speed, sword. Say this war sword has 1.4, it's not that bad. Right.
Exiles.
Boom, bada bing. And now it has a little bit of fizz damage. If it was rare, it would have more fizz damage, right?
Exiles.
And you use that and you aug it, right? And hopefully it hits like flat fizz or well, it can't hit flat fizz, accuracy or crit or something, right? And you just use that for your leveling. You constantly redo that. And if not, you know, once you're done with it, you can go ahead and scourge it until you see if they got some flat damage, or just buy a white weapon and constantly scourge it as you progress through your leveling process. And in Act 2, the only thing you have to really worry about is basically getting, you know, your elemental damage of attacks and melee fizz, and get faster attacks for your leap slam. Otherwise, nothing else really matters other than picking up Herald of Ash and Herald of Purity. Now, one thing I did miss is in Act 1, you can pick up Intimidating Cry. I don't know why that went through my brain right now. So Intimidating Cry is one of your main cries. It doubles the damage of a hit, and it's pretty much going to carry you through the majority of the beginning of the game, and bosses especially, as it makes them take increased damage as well. And during this process, when you pick up melee fizz and elemental damage with attacks, you're not going to use them still. Chance to bleed is still going to work out more damage because your weapon probably is lacking a lot of damage. And another thing to keep in mind is that as you level, you might get a weapon that's like super high amount of fizz,
Go with the spirit.
right? Just give this example. Where is it? Like, this weapon is mostly, you know, it's half fizz, half fire. So if you do melee fizz damage, it's not going to give you it's not going to scale everything because there's a little bit of elemental. If you do elemental damage of attack skills, you're not going to scale the physical portion. So they're kind of like bad skill gems because the weapon you're using is not very efficient with them. So it's better to stick with things that give you flat physical damage, aka chance to bleed and things like that. Now, once you get your fourth link is going to be, where is it? Increased crit strikes. The reason behind this is because we get a lot of crit early on, and if you don't have a lot of crit on your weapon, these nodes are basically useless. But since we do get a lot of crit here, and then this node gives you 120% crit, Once you get increased crit strike gem on top of your 4-link, you probably already have 30 to 40% crit chance, especially with your diamond flask. And it's more than enough to actually feel the crit chance working, especially once you get disemboweling, things like that. So I highly recommend your 4th link always be increased crit strikes, and you don't remove it until to increase crit damage until your weapon has a good amount of crit, and you know you feel like you got the majority of the crit on the tree, and you're sitting around a nice amount of crit, around 40% usually, right? Things like that. So you know it's basically crit strike is going to carry you a very long way as a 4-link. Now in Act 3, once you go to Act 3 and you have, you know, all your herald, you have your intimidating cry and things like that. I believe you can pick up an Inferno Cry here. I'm pretty sure. But you got to do the library quest, which is, you know, you go to Imperial Gardens, the library, and you got to find the golden pages. And here I believe you get Inferno Cry. Yeah. Here you can pick up Inferno Cry, and, you know, if you have a little bit of fire damage, it does help out. But I want you to pick it up anyway because it exerts the next few attacks. And I don't care if they do fire damage or not. Exerting a few attacks will mean that all these exerted attacks deal damage. Is going to apply more often. Right here, buff effects. Things like that, buff effects. This is Warcry speed. It's mostly this one. But you basically have more exerted attacks in your arsenal. And I'll explain that right now. Let me do it real quickly, so I can explain to you what I mean by that. Alright. So what I mean is this. Once you get this node that makes War Cries exert 1 additional attack, Intimidating Cry exerts only 3 attacks. So your next 3 attacks do a crap load of damage. But Intimidating exerts 7 attacks. So let's say you weren't using Rage Vortex. You know, the next 7 attacks, let's say of Smite or Ground Slam, are going to do more damage. You know, just because these nodes give it more damage. Anything exerted wise does give it. Honestly, there's not that many anymore. It used to be a lot more. But you get the point. You want to exert as many attacks as possible to do more damage. And same thing with Battle Mage Cry, which I believe you also get in Act 3. It exerts 6 attacks, which is way more than 3. But Intimidating Cry by far is still the big powerhouse skill to use for bossing and, you know, tanky rares and things like that. Right? Now, in Act 3, you will get Rage Vortex after you open up the Ebony Barracks and you fight the General Gravicius, I think his name is Gravicius, under the tent. Once you kill him, Moa will give you a skill gem reward, and that will unlock Rage Vortex. Hello. But you're not done here. You cannot use Rage Vortex. You can put Rage. You cannot use Rage Vortex yet because you need the first ascendancy here in order to proc. So while in my leveling skill tree, you do have Admonisher and the first Warcry Mastery instead of being what I have here. You know, instead it is level 44, you know, minimum of 10 power. That is to get you going until you get your shield, right? Once that happens, you can basically Warcry and you get 20 rage every time you Warcry, as long as you have less than 25 rage. So let's say you have 0 rage, you would Warcry, you get 20 rage, and then you can Warcry again, since you're still below 25, you get 40 rage, and that sustains Rage Vortex while leveling very, very well, and you're just chilling through everything. Of course, if you have 4C, you know, you can go ahead and use the Rated Banner, but until then, this mastery, the little minimum power mastery is more than enough. But again, just having Rage Vortex is not enough. You need Warbringer and this mastery. You have this for sure. You gotta wait till you get this around level 35, and after you get all the trials in Act 3. All right, so you need your first ascendancy. So you can be using Smite all the way to around level, you know, 35, really, because the first lab is level 35. Now, once you get your Rage Vortex, you want to still use, you know, you still want to use Rage Vortex. You still want to use increased crit, right? Now, here is where you get a little tricky. Instead of using Chance to Bleed, since you do have a lot of fizz damage, you can go ahead and swap it for Rage Support because it gives you a lot more flat physical damage for your buck, and it's way better than Chance to Bleed. Right, and that's in Act 2. So you can go ahead and pick it up while leveling as well. Where is it? Rage Support. I think I have one leveling as well. If you see here, it says Rage gives you 15 to 27 if you at least have 10 Rage, which is when you Warcry, you already have 20 Rage, so it's guaranteed. And then you get 1 to 30 Rage per, 1 to 3 Fizz per 10 Rage. And of course, that number goes higher and higher as you level up the skill gem. So it gives way more than Chance to Bleed when you're scaling a lot of Rage. So That's your next link, ideally. I don't know if I have one. Yeah, it's right here. And then from this point on, you're going to be fucking around with either melee fizz or elemental damage of attack skills. The other option is pulverize. If your weapon is mostly fizz, use melee fizz. If your weapon is mostly elemental, use elemental damage. If your weapon is actually pretty fast, use a pulverize. Now, if your weapon is really slow, don't use pulverize because godforsaken, that thing feels like shit. It gives you an attack speed penalty, and even though it does a shit ton of damage, it gives you AoE, and you really want to use it. The attack speed, I think, is just too much of a loss early on. But for me, with an 1.88 weapon, it doesn't matter, and especially once you get rid of Ruin, which triples the attack speed given by Rage, the downside doesn't even matter anymore. You're so fast anyway. So definitely keep that in mind, you know, while you're playing. That's pretty much your 4 link. You know, Rage Vortex, increase crit, Rage, and then one of those 3 that I just mentioned. So, you know, I would recommend you just level all of them, and that's what you're going to be using. And that's basically your 4 link all the way through all the acts until basically act 7 or 8, where at this point, if you have like 3 or 4 stay lying around from just picking things up, you want to buy a 5 link. And your 5th link, you know, at this point, you can use melee fizz, one of the other ones like melee fizz or pulverize. And since we're using Herald of Ash, if you feel like your crit chance has a pretty good amount of crit, you can, you know, pick up Immolate in Act 3, and it gives you way more damage than Rage anyway. And once you crit, it gives us added fire damage because when you crit, you ignite, and when they're ignited, they're burning. And, you know, since you already have Herald of Ash, you do have fire damage anyway. It's still really good. But it's more consistent once you get the conversion and higher crit chance. So you can mess around with that. But basically, it's going to be Rage Vortex, Rage, increase crit, either melee fizz, elemental damage of attack skills, or pulverize. And then your 5th link is one of the other ones you didn't pick. You know, pretty much that. And that's all I did all the way to Act 10 until you get, you know, your 6th link, which eventually, once you're in maps and things like that, you will pick up, you will have full conversion. And then at this point, you go full fire. And I have all the crit. So I have Rage Vortex, increased crit damage, Pulverize, Wed, Fire Pen, and Immolate. And that's basically copying exactly from the 6th link here. Now, other than that, a cool quick tip. I did have Immortal Call on my Battle Mage Cry. And I know I have on my gear a Assassin's Mark on its trigger ring. I don't have that yet, so in order to get around that, my Battle Mage Cry over here has the Wave of Conviction like it always did to lower their fire by 15%, and I also have Assassin's Mark, so it triggers the Assassin's Mark like it would on a ring, and it saves me from buying a ring early on, and I can just focus on capping res and dexterity and things like that. And it's a nice cheap way of handling things. And that's pretty much it, dude. Everything's working exactly the way the POB stated, you know. I'm just using Steel Skin for walk, and I haven't really min-maxed my gem links to multiple totems and things like that. But yeah, the only thing I would say is use War Banner in position while leveling up as well to cap that accuracy. Do not ignore this 100% accuracy. If that thing's already level at 95% hit chance, we have some problems. So keep that in mind. And that's pretty much it, guys. You know, use your Quicksilver Flask, use your Diamond Flask. I should be dropping this already. I don't even need it because I have Leap Slam. Get your your Divine Life Flask with, you know, Bleed. The chance to gain a flask when you deal crit, since Rage Vortex hits so often, this thing comes back like seconds. I was surprised. So, dude, put like that flask charge on crit almost on everything if you can. Especially your Diamond Flask. I haven't, you know, ideally you want that mod with crit chance, and then you want to put an orb of, not the other one, the yellow one, and I think it's Enkindling. I'm not quite sure. And you want to increase effects, you know, not increase charges, but I have to buy some more in order to get that going. And then I have my Lion's Roar, which is only like a few chaos, you know, 5C for a 9% damage. And that is it, guys. Nothing crazy, you know, nothing too complicated. And, you know, I just wanted to give you this little, you know, quick tip on how to do everything. So I hope you guys find this a little bit helpful in the leveling process if you're still going through it. And I apologize I couldn't give it earlier, but honestly, I didn't have a place to really come at you with all the full detailed information because I didn't level it before. And on top of that, things change this league, so you know, some things are harder, some things are easier. And it is what it is. So, but now that the shield's very cheap, if you haven't got to maps yet, you get there very soon. You get your, and then you'll buy your shield once you get 4 or 5C, and you'll be rocking everything once you have that shield and you're chilling. You don't have to use that minimum 10 power, which is very annoying. Yeah, guys, I hope you guys find this helpful. Please let me know. Please make sure to like the video and subscribe if you haven't. Helps you a lot with the algorithm as well. And yeah, I'll catch you guys next time in the next informative video or detailed build guide. And yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying the build as much as I am. Have a fun Scourge League. See you next time. Peace out.